What's up? Welcome to the Existential Stoic Podcast. Do you want to see your efforts actually produce results? Would you like to see yourself, grow faster? You're in luck because today, our quick fix, we're going to talk about how to compound your efforts. I'm Danny. I'm here with my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Hey, Danny.
So, what do you think about compounding your efforts? Why is this important?
Well, I think everybody's working so hard. And the crazy thing is that,
It's,
the person who's making barely scraping it by working two jobs is probably working no harder than the billionaire CEO. They're just working differently. So I think it's important to learn how to maximize your efforts so that you can better be that billionaire CEO, unless you really want to be the person just scraping it by working two or three jobs.
it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think a lot of people don't realize that like, hey, it's most people just to get by in the world probably work about as hard as everyone else. I don't think there's like, it's not that it's just about how you work, the way you work, and how you sort of make your work for you effectively. I think that's a good point. Yeah. So today, hopefully, we can help people with some tips for how to compound your efforts and kind of, see growth and see results faster. So I'm going to start. It's my week. So my first one is, I think building your habits one at a time. And we mentioned this before, but I think this is really important because, we all want to grow, we all want to develop, but we oftentimes we choose too many things to work on at once. And by habits, I mean, you think of this broadly as skills, projects, whatever, but actually focusing on one thing at a time until you know it, until you have that down, and then moving on. I think you see way more progress because you actually achieve things before you go to the next thing, rather than trying to like just dump a bucket out of of goals and trying to just randomly scramble through all of them because you don't see results that way.
Yeah, that's a great one, focusing on one thing. There's so many people that have said that, it's so easy to get distracted. Uh, Whereas if you just focus on one thing, you're able to give it all of your energy, and then you can get that done and then move on to the next thing. So that, I mean, just focusing on one thing is great, I think. So my first one is do it every day. Whatever you want to do it every day. Because here's the thing. Every day, if you improve 1%, you would say, well, at the end of the year, you would improve 365%, maybe 366% on a
Yeah,
leap year. But I'd say you're
yeah,
wrong because of the compound effect. You know,
there it is.
your compounding compounds on itself, and so you end up doing a lot more by doing it every day. And plus, here's the other thing. It's like the binary option of doing it every day, because a lot of times when people say like, oh, I'm going to work out like 3 days a week or something like that, they don't feel like doing it today, and they're like, oh, there's still 4 days left in the week. They don't feel like doing it
Yeah,
tomorrow. Oh, there's still, and so they never
yeah.
end up getting it done. But when it's a do it every day type of thing, you just ask, did I do it today? No. Okay, I'm going to do it. It's either yes or no. Very simple. And you want the answer to be yes, so you just do it every day.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, actually, because it's funny. Like, in order to achieve that too, like with working out is a good example. Where like, if you're doing like a heavy workout and you want to do that 3 days a week, well, then you do a walk the other 4 days to make sure that you're spending the same amount of time doing that thing that you want to do. So there is no skipping. I think that's a great point because like if you don't do it every day, you're not really doing it, and you don't see those results. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be a little bit. It can be turning something on. It can be getting on your mat, whatever. Just getting it so that you're actually developing something in that area each day. You see that progress and doesn't. That's a good one. That goes nicely with my second one, which is, be the person you want to. So actually focusing on the kind of growth that you want to see, trying to be the person that you want to be in the world, trying to do the types of things that you want to do so that you're actually excited about it, engaged, passionate. Because I think that's something we kind of don't think about a lot, which is our own sort of engagement and enjoyment in these things and how long that will actually help us sort of maximize growth and actually stick with it over time.
That's a great point, because if your heart's not in it, you're never really going to get anything out of it. Like, a lot of us do
No,
things that mentally we think we're supposed to do, or mentally we think we want to do it because everybody else social proofing says it's awesome to do, but our heart's just not in
worst.
it. So we don't give it the effort that it needs, and we really don't care that much. But you can look back on your life and see things when your heart was really in it. You gave it everything you had, and the outcome didn't matter. because you were just doing the best you could in the direction of what you wanted. And whether you got what you wanted or not, it didn't matter because you enjoyed the process. So I think that's a great one, is just like really focusing on who you want to be, because that'll help compound your efforts. Yeah.
Well,
So my second one, this kind of is a part two to my part one. So part one was do it every day. The part two to that is do it especially on the days when you don't feel like it, because those are the days that you actually grow. It's like it's like when you're lifting, you know, all the reps that you do is really to get you to the end when you're about burnout, when you can't lift it at all and your muscles are just like trembling and you need a spotter to help you lift it the rest of the way. That's where the actual growth takes place. And it's the same thing with anything you're trying to do in life. It's those times when you specifically don't want to do it, which is where most people give up and stop doing it. Those are the times when you grow, and those are when you get over the hurdles that you need to get to the other side.
you know, I like about that too. It's actually like, it's also like, you know, when you find something you like, picking something that's challenging so that you're forced to grow. Like, you know, it's even like, you know, if you're in school or something too, and you have to pick your own project, picking something that's actually hard for you is good, because you'll actually see growth. You'll actually do better than you would otherwise if you just pick something easy. And I think that's a great point, because it's the same thing as like doing it even when you don't want to. You're forcing yourself to encounter obstacles and challenges that will actually make you better in the future, right? And then you see those compounded effects. I think that's a great one. My last one is go beyond the specifics. I think this is important because we get caught up in specialization. And I think that actually does narrow our growth and limit our growth. So I think going beyond sort of the area that we're used to can help us see new things, help us look at things from a different perspective, help us sort of gain that advantage of looking at the world differently. That helps us then see how, you know, what we're doing now applies in many different areas. And we start to see sort of growth occur even where we didn't expect it in the first place.
That's a great one, just because when you have all those different areas of knowledge, you can just connect them all, and it's like much broader. So my last one is use the 80-20 principle to leverage your efforts. So in case you haven't heard about this, you've probably had your head buried in the sand, but it's basically taking a look at what 20% of your efforts produce the 80% of results, and then just focusing on that 20%. So instead of, let's say you have, you know, 10 hours a day that you can work. Well, if there are specifically 2 hours of those day when you're doing something that produces most of your results, well, focus on doing what you're doing during those 2 hours, and maybe do that during the rest of the time as well, so that you can maximize your efforts. And that allows you to leverage whatever effort you're putting in to get the maximum results.
Do you ever hear of like the concept of like the flow state and stuff? It's like the same thing, right? It's like getting into that state of mind where you do your best work, where you're actually focused, where you're actually seeing results. And I think it's funny because I think most people, like, we do most of our work in a couple hours during the day. Like when we know what we're doing and we're good at something. Like it's like you don't need to spend a lot of time.
I have such an aversion to the flow state, because everybody always talks about like, oh, get into flow. And then that guy who wrote the book, who I can't pronounce his last name, they're like, yeah, this guy. And I'm just like, you just do your work. Like, that's simple as it is. Just do the work. Like everybody's like, no, you gotta get into flow, like get all zenned out, have my coffee, have my power nap, pop some Ritalin, and then just like get into the flow state to where I can just like work nonstop forever. And it's just like, just do the work. Like literally after 5 to 10 minutes, you're gonna be in the flow state. Just start.
Well, I think that's where they miss the point. They do all the prep stuff just to distract themselves. You know, it's like all this other BS. All right. So hopefully, though, besides the end part, we got distracted a little. Hopefully that'll help you.
Did we lose our flow? Oh no.
Oh God, did I lose my plate? This is a quick fix. We'll be back later this week with a full-length episode. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. Watch us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, whatever. That helps us out a lot. And we will see you again later this week. But until then, later, Randy.
Later, Danny.